And may we wish everyone a good afternoon and welcome to the Township of Douro-Dummer and our regular council meeting here on the 21st of June, 2022. Our last meeting before the summer break, of course, when we take a bit of a break in July. So welcome to everyone. Please be reminded that this meeting is being broadcast live on YouTube and is being recorded for those who wish to watch it at a later time, just so you know. Okay, we'll call the roll of members of council so we know who's in attendance. First of all, Deputy Mayor Moher.
Here.
Councillor Watt.
Present.
Councillor Landsman.
I'm here.
And Councillor Watson.
Also here.
Our staff are here as well. Our CAO is Alana Arthurs. Alana, welcome. Our clerk, Martina Chade-Hartwig, is here. Martina, she is pushing all the buttons tonight. We also welcome our treasurer, Paul Creamer. Paul, always good to have you here. Chuck Pedersen, our fire chief. Chuck, I believe, is in the background there somewhere. And our manager of public works, Jake Condon. So our staff are on board should we have any questions or request their involvement. So with a quorum of council in attendance, I will officially call the meeting to order at 5:03. And we do respectfully acknowledge that we're on the treaty and traditional territory of the Mississauga Anishinaabe, and we offer our gratitude to the First Nation people for the care for and the teachings about our earth and our relations. May we honor those teachings. And today is a very special day, National Indigenous Peoples Day today, and we give a big salute of the Douro-Dummer hat to honor that day. Please join us for a moment of silent reflection. Any disclosure of pecuniary interest with any of the matters we're dealing with tonight? Okay, seeing no hands. The agenda that's before you, please. A motion to adopt that agenda. Heather and Sheila, all in favor? Motion is approved. The minutes of the June 7th meeting are also before you. A motion to receive and approve those minutes, please. Carl and Tom, all in favor? Motion is approved. Consent agenda, we have nothing in that category for tonight, but we do have a delegation, and we are proud to welcome a delegation. But before we do, Richard, I see you there, and we're going to have a little surprise congratulatory note here. Richard, you can be in on this too. And that is the Association of Municipal Clerks and Treasurers of Ontario, a very prestigious group who look after all kinds of aspects of municipal government, a lot of training and helping out staff all across the province. It's a big, big organization. And we are proud to announce tonight that our CAO, Alana Arthurs, Alana, give me a wave. There we go. Is the brand new president of the AMCTO. So look at this. Here is a live action shot of Alana being presented with the, I don't know, you must have got something presented, but she's the new president. Let's have a round of applause for Alana. We're very proud of you from Douro-Dummer. A brief word, Alana. I know you're humbled. Go ahead.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate that. I'm very much looking forward to the year with AMCTO. I think it's now that we're back in person somewhat, it's going to be an exciting year. So thank you very much. And thank you for all of your support.
That's great. Thank you, Alana, for representing us so well. Okay, we are going to move right ahead to our delegation. And Richard, I'm glad you could join us in that little celebration of ours. And this is regarding short-term rentals. Richard, we're very familiar with the subject, and I know you are too, believe me. So this is a 10-minute delegation. I hope you can stick to that. We'll set the timer, and with a minute left, you'll hear ding, and you can wrap things up. And okay, so we're all ears. Richard, you're on.
All right, sounds good. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay, thanks for having me. I'm here today to continue the conversation that Deborah Satok started on June 7th and to build upon the sit down you had that same day with Doug Owens and Brent Wheaton, with the outcome being to find the best solution for Douro-Dummer. I requested an opportunity to speak so that I may add to the conversation. Next slide, please. So first thing I would like to ask council to ask themselves, is Douro-Dummer a community or a commodity? I've been coming to Stony Lake for over 40 years and now call Stony my primary residence, my home. I've witnessed in the last 1.5 years alone rapid expansion of real estate investment due to the creation of horizontal hotels that now in some cases make up the majority of road, bay, and shorelines. On May 16th of this year, I sent all council members and the CAO proof of this. Yes, in some areas, rentals outnumber non-rentals. This is not only inflating prices beyond the reach of many, but at a pace that will have far-reaching consequences for your constituency. There is a hollowing out of our neighborhoods taking place, dominated by commercial interests, and we are not zoned for such initiatives. We ask, are we a community or a commodity? Next slide, please. So why and how is this happening? Information technology platforms like Airbnb have enabled landlord automation and have facilitated commercialization of residential zones. During the early rapid growth of these platforms, sharing economy companies started operations without regard to local laws on the basis that existing regulations had not envisioned the radical and disrupting new ideas they embodied. But it quickly became clear that Uber was in fact a taxi company and Airbnb was in effect a hotel business. These tech startups have one-track minds. They only care about rapid platform expansion, and the goal is valuation. They don't care about our little municipality and the nightmare this has brought to us. The influence of the so-called Airbnb effect on local housing markets has grown into a significant cause for concern, particularly when looking at its impacts on housing stock, prices, and communities. In fact, Forbes magazine reported in February 2020, pre-pandemic even, the cost to long-term renters in local communities likely exceed the benefits to travelers and property owners. The research has been done. It's all out there for us to learn from. The downsides to this supersede any upside for our small community. In fact, a simple Google search shows endless articles and stories about the problems and issues created by STRs. I could not find one article showcasing a community stating that it was beneficial, except of course, research done and published by Airbnb. Next slide, please. So short-term rentals are fueling oversaturation and turning shoreline residential neighborhoods into hotel strips. Our neighborhoods on Stony Lake are being turned into increasingly contrived tourism destinations rather than places to live. Would you like an example of a contrived tourist destination? I'll give you one. Burley Falls. Used to be a nice spot to have a picnic, lunch, and take a dip. All it took was one blog post on Blog Toronto, and suddenly we have people showing up in droves, and I don't need to relay what happened there to you. That was contrived tourism that, thanks to technology, ruined it for everyone. And that's exactly what STRs are. Airbnb is a tech platform used all over the world. As soon as you add automation and engagement at a global scale, a small community like this has now become overwhelmed. We live here. It's not Niagara Falls. They have the biggest falls in the world, casinos, wineries, loads of hotels, etc. This kind of saturation and density of rental options is better suited for actual tourist areas with infrastructure where regulations and planning principles can provide governance and oversight. Next slide, please. So the key areas experiencing density around this area and this issue are the shoreline residential properties. Stony, Clear, and White Lakes in particular offer up a disproportionately larger stock of desirable properties because they are waterfront. These shores and these lakes are really the issue area we are talking about. It is not some large scale area, but it's such a small area, so the density is an even graver concern. With all due respect, people are not booking downtown Warsaw in the same manner. I think that needs to be recognized. Research conducted by Harvard Business Review found that Airbnb is having a detrimental impact on housing stock as it encourages landlords to move the properties out from the long-term rental and for sale markets and into the short-term rental market. This means people that want to rent long-term or potentially buy a cottage are pushed out of the market by amateur entrepreneurs and corporations. It's allowing anyone and everyone to become an unqualified hotelier because it's all been automated for them. We end up with the gradual replacement of locals and true cottagers with the transfer of ownership to developers and entrepreneurs. A healthy housing market is the real bedrock of a healthy local economy. So what are the options? Next slide, please. Option 1, allow with regulation, licensing, and oversight. This sentences the township to liability, grief, costs, resource limitations, turmoil, and an unhappy populace. Issues will continue to expand. Don't forget, Airbnb has an IPO to tend to. Airbnb's strategic growth roadmap is on a path to more than 1 billion annual guests by 2028. Can you even imagine the trickle effect of this area? We haven't even seen the full magnitude yet. And with all due respect to council and the management team, it's naive to think the township can manage and regulate a hotel industry. It is proven elsewhere this does not work. This results in our tax dollars being used for council reacting on a continuum versus managing strategic and local municipal government mandates. For example, fire and emergency services, roads and public works, parks and recreation, garbage and recycling, things we pay taxes for. And in fact, the report dated June 17th references consultation with the OPP to assist in regulation. And I might add the nearest attachment is Peterborough. Fundamentally, sanctions must be costlier than the benefits of misbehavior, a high bar to reach when the financial benefits of short-term rentals are so high. When they're rolling in thousands of dollars monthly, they don't care about a little fine or a licensing cost. And what about data collection? On the ongoing outcome of regulations, should they be put in place? Planners and regulators need to consistently calibrate bylaws and work towards a desired community outcome. You can't set it and forget it. It needs tweaking, oversight, and enforcement. If you authorize it, it will spin out of control. You're setting yourself up to deal with the renters, operators, and opposed residents simultaneously. Next slide, please. Option 2, ban it. Denying is decisive, sends a clear message that Douro-Dummer is not open for business for STRs. You're taking on the responsibility of stopping the operators and not policing the renters and simultaneously appeasing the opposers. Simple math. No new bylaws required, simply focus on existing zoning. The principle that some land uses are better off away from other land uses is foundational to planning. It was shoreline residential for a reason. It's sensitive, it has limited services, no town water or sewers. We were living off wells and septics, never meant to be run commercially. Many of these are retrofitted properties that were never intended for this type of intense usage. It stops expansion and current offenders can be dealt with, so STRs decrease over time, and potentially the needs for resources to deal with them would also decrease. Our communities stay intact and remain as shoreline residences. We have the benefit of all the research already completed around why Airbnb won't work, so why are we taking time to make a decision on what needs to be done when it's already legally defined by means of zoning? Next slide, please. And sometimes it just doesn't fit. Just ban it. I think Township Council, focus on your strategic plan. Put energy where your capacity as a council and management team lies. You're already living it. You're already fielding the calls, the letters, the complaints. Do you think this will get better? If we are only 6,709 people in the entire township, perhaps it's just not a good fit to have this in our area for both sides. And lastly, it just doesn't fit in our environment, our culture within the township. It alters the area's atmosphere. Next slide, please. So in summary, the impacts of STRs are strongly felt in smaller and more rural communities where there is less government enforcement capacity, less leverage over sharing economy platforms, a smaller housing pool, and tight-knit communities. Research also indicates the growth of STRs in Canada is higher in rural areas than in urban areas, and also indicates that needs and regulatory regimes vary between communities. These STRs are owned and operated by people not even living in the community, even living out of province. You must feel an urgency by this community currently in violation of zoning ordinances. Our small community is poorly positioned to absorb this large shock of Airbnb density. A lack of neighborliness is antithetical to what many rural communities understand as special and important to their community, which manifests in significant concern about STRs. I return back to my opening question. Are we a community or a commodity? Do the right thing, ban STRs and leave our communities intact. To do this, uphold our existing bylaws that do not allow commercial operation in residential zones. I've not met one person that wants a short-term rental next door to their home, so why should it be okay for anyone? Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Richard. And your timing was dead on. And thank you for articulating, as good as I've heard from anyone, exactly what the situation is. And I can assure you, we are indeed working on it to the best of our ability. We want to take our time and get it right. We have been working with legal people, other residents, and we do have some other plans to try to deal with it. So we hear you loud and clear. Believe me, we hear you. Questions from members of council, and then we're going to hear Alana, who will be talking about that same subject. Richard, you might want to stay around, and it gives you an indication as to how we're moving forward. Any questions from anyone? Great report. Thank you, Richard. Alana, I'm going to, well, first of all, I'm going to get a motion to receive the delegation with thanks. Carl and Sheila, all in favor? Good. Thank you. Thank you for that, Richard. Now I'm going to turn it to Alana, who can summarize a bit of a game plan and let everyone know how we are attempting to move forward on this issue.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Maybe it's just as easy if we move my report up and I can go right into that now, and then I can answer questions as well.
Yeah, that's indeed what I was hoping to do. So
okay.
Consider your report moved ahead.
Okay, I will begin just by reading the recommendation that I have, and then we can chat about those points individually, and maybe I can provide some additional context. So the recommendation is that CAO 2022-15 report dated June 21st, 2022 regarding short-term rentals in the Township of Douro-Dummer be received, and that staff be directed to prepare draft nuisance bylaws in consultation with our legal representative to be brought back to council for approval, and that staff investigate the opportunity to contract the enforcement of the nuisance bylaws to the City of Peterborough through the administrative monetary penalty program. That council directs staff to create a terms of reference for a short-term rental working group to further investigate the options for regulation, and that staff continue to monitor and research the issues of short-term rentals in the province of Ontario and provide additional information to council as it becomes available. And further, that further consideration of regulation of short-term rentals be considered during the development of a new zoning bylaw in 2023. So just to touch on those individually, in consultation with our legal representative, they had said, the low-lying fruit is those nuisance bylaws. I think ours are outdated. He has indicated that they have some examples. We can work together to try to put something in place that's enforceable. I think it's something, we're not targeting short-term rentals necessarily with these bylaws. It's something that'll be applied across the municipality. So I think it's prudent for us to do that regardless. And it may assist in helping some of those initial nuisance issues that we're having. With regard to the enforcement, we did have our police services board meeting. We did talk with the OPP about enforcement, and they essentially said, if you have a bylaw that's enforceable, then we can go ahead and ticket for that offense. But recently, the City of Peterborough has been developing an administrative monetary penalty program, and they have early indications have said that the lower tier municipalities in Peterborough County may have an opportunity to leverage that. So we can look potentially to that program to have it enforced there, and they would have a regulatory body for any appeals or anything like that, and they would handle it. What we don't have right now is costs, so we need a little more time to investigate that as an option, as opposed to just leaving it to the OPP. Again, just providing additional information as it becomes available. We're looking at, we did get advice from our lawyer just to speak to the delegation with regards to our current zoning and the issue that when it was developed, that short-term rentals weren't a consideration. So if we look to the Township of Oro-Medonte, and our legal representative has said, we kind of have similar wording and a similar dated bylaw. They are in a situation right now where they tried to use that that wording to essentially ban short-term rentals. They did a small amendment to try to define the commercial activity, and it was appealed, and essentially the Township of Oro-Medonte had to repeal that bylaw. So that is very recent. That's just happening. That issue, the written decision has not become available as of yet, but it will very shortly. And I think that's something that our township needs to look at and see how we move forward with that. He also did say, though, that there probably is opportunity within our zoning bylaw, but we really need to address it on the basis of a short-term rental and have proper wording. So as we have our new planner beginning on Monday, and we will be tasking them with a new zoning bylaw for 2023, this is something that we will try to endeavor to get it correct and get the wording correct so that we can leverage our zoning bylaw for enforcement. And I think that is, just in addition, just to have a working group. So I think it's, we've heard a lot from the community. The public consultation is important. There's lots of views out there from both sides. And I think it would be prudent to have a working group put together. Staff can work on the terms of reference for that and bring that back to council so that we can have some people at the table who are, dealing with this regularly and can provide input, and can also take some of that information that's coming out from other municipalities and digest it and help us make a recommendation to council or provide council some guidance moving forward.
No, that's great. I think that's a wonderful idea. And people like Richard, for example, I hope you'll put your name in when we get our terms of reference and get this working group put together. I think we all need to work together on this. So we're working very hard to try to solve this issue, as are many municipalities right across Ontario. So it's not as easy as pushing the little red button and making the problem go away. But we take it seriously, we're working on it, and we're doing the best we can. Any questions from members of council? Go ahead, Carl.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Alana. I think we've got a good approach moving forward here. Thank you for all your work here. When you're ready for a motion, I would be happy to move it. I'm especially happy with in the interim, looking at nuisance bylaw to be able to slow it down a bit, and then next year having something that was more something included in the zoning bylaw that is enforceable. So
would your motion also include having staff proceed with the advisory group terms of reference, and let's get that underway as soon as we can?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. There's your motion, Carl, to receive the report and to have staff move ahead with the advisory committee. Any other comments on the motion on the floor? Could I have a seconder to it, please? Sheila? Any questions? Speak to the motion. Call for the vote. All in favor? That motion is approved. We move forward, and we're doing the best we can to try to deal with it. Thank you for that, Alana. We move to item 9.1, report on capital projects. That's in your package. Are there any questions that you'd like to ask on that report? A motion then, please, to receive it. Heather? And Tom? All in favor? Motion approved. Good report. Thank you. Purchase of a cab and chassis truck with dump. Jake, I got a feeling you're going to be talking about this one. Go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. The recommendation before you is that the Public Works 2020-14 report dated June 21st, 2022, regarding the purchase of the cab and chassis plow truck with a dump box be received, and that council award the tender to J.J. Stewart Motors Limited in the amount of $125,816.06. And further, that the 2007 Ford truck be deemed surplus to the operation, and authorize the manager to proceed with the sale of the vehicle at the appropriate time. I'll give you a brief overview of this. The staff sent out 2 RFPs to purchase a truck. The first RFP, we received no submissions. The second RFP, we had changed a few of the specifications to hopefully get some more interest in receiving responses. That had closed on June 1st, 2022, and we received one bid from J.J. Stewart Motors. I did provide a summary of the price there. In theory, these trucks are in high demand and the supply is very low. So they did bid on a diesel powered truck. The preference is that we have a gas powered truck for our use with the diesel engines nowadays and the emissions. The maintenance costs are quite high there. So I think the gas would be a better option for us. And I did reach out to J.J. Stewart Motors, and this is not a problem. They can order that for us. So, well, the budgeted amount is $120,000 for this truck. We should see approximately a $7,000 savings changing to gas from diesel. So any overages related to the purchase of the truck will be funded through the sale of the surplus truck. But as I mentioned, we should see some savings with the change from gas to diesel. So if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Any questions on the truck? Very thorough report. Thank you, Jake. Go ahead, Heather.
Thank you, worship through you. Just a question with respect to delivery. Yes, they can order it, but did they give you a sense as to how soon you may receive it? I'm hearing vehicles are coming off the line incomplete even, and they're delivering them without some of the features and options. So when do you hope that this would be in operation for us?
They're giving me a timeline of 10 to 14 months. So we won't receive it till next year. There is, the box needs to be installed on it. So that does delay things a little bit more, but they're hopeful that it may come in the 10-month period instead of the 14. But as you mentioned, it's unpredictable at this time.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. There's a recommendation. Jake's worked hard at this and looked at all the details. A motion from Sheila.
I'll move the recommendation.
And Carl will be the seconder. All in favor? That motion's approved. Jake, thank you. And before we plow through the next one, I just skipped item 9.2,
We know
much to the chagrin of our clerk. I just did that, Martina, to make sure you were following. Just a little test for you.
Always testing me.
I know. Snow removal. Jake, go ahead.
Thank you. So the recommendation before you is that Public Works 2022-13 report dated June 21st, 2022 regarding snow removal for the 2022-2023 season be received, and that council approved the conversion of one part-time equipment operator to one full-time equipment operator for the Public Works Department, and that council directs staff to prepare an RFP for the purchase of one 2022 or 2023 regular cab pickup truck with a sander and snowplow attachments, and that the $90,000 and $283 of the additional OCIF allocation be received in the 2022 be applied to 2022 surface treatment projects to free up funds for additional truck, and that the remaining $9,717 be funded through the roads equipment reserve. This is quite a lengthy report with a lot of information in here. Alana, myself, and Paul have contributed to it, so I will just touch on some of the high notes here. In 2021, we used a new contractor to complete our community centers, all our fire halls, and the Johnson Trail parking area. With the intention to review this for this season coming, the 2022-23 season. Staff had reported that quite often the job was incomplete and required follow-up calls for the contractor to return and complete the job correctly. These situations do create an increase in liability for the township. This was through the scene at the community centers as well as the fire halls, and they did reach out to them, as I had mentioned several times, to have them come back and complete it. It should be noted that the Public Works Department did complete the snow plowing for the municipal office parking lot and the other municipal lot down by the mailboxes, as well as the transfer station and the sidewalk leading to the school. I did provide some cost breakdowns for the snow removal. I did also provide a lot of information there regarding the sidewalks. I can say that on the County Road 29 sidewalk that is out at the Lakefield College, we are continuing to have discussions with Selwyn to try to come to an agreement to have this section incorporated into their sidewalk winter maintenance program. They have indicated that it would be approximately $3,000 to $5,000 if they are willing to do this. It still has to go obviously towards their council and have an agreement made up, but I'm hopeful that that can be completed. There are concerns with providing winter maintenance to these two locations. There's a variety of concerns that I have stated there. There's also the continual maintenance costs and liability to the township once we start completing winter maintenance to these. And once we start, we obviously will be required to complete this indefinitely. So as I had mentioned, in the work that was completed by the contractor, there were several challenges experienced during the season. Staff is recommending that an additional truck be purchased with the flexibility to either be a 3/4 ton or a 1 ton, depending on the availability, along with the plow and the sander to complete this work. This truck would be shared between the Public Works and the Parks and Recreation Department. We would obviously use it in the wintertime for the winter maintenance, and they would be able to use it for their various activities through the summer months. So to manage this snow removal, the Public Works Department would require an additional equipment operator. Currently, we hire 2 seasonal employees, equipment operators. This full-time position would then take one of those seasonal positions out of the equation, requiring only 1 seasonal equipment operator to be hired through the summer months. The employee would also carry out various other activities along with the snow plowing through the winter months to help out with the department. While the savings to the municipality will not be realized in the first year, but as a long-term solution, the municipality will receive a better service and the liability and increase or lessen our liability and have more stable costs. At this time, it's not recommended by staff to provide winter maintenance to the County Road 38 Boulevard. And I will just reach out to Paul there to speak on the financial side of things, if you will, Paul.
Thanks, Jake, and through your worship. And as you know, I think at one of the last meetings I did mention I was keeping the OCIF funding in my back pocket, knowing that this was coming up. And but the OCIF can only be applied to core infrastructure projects. So my recommendation is to move some of the funding that was some of the levy funded capital projects to be funded through the OCIF. That frees up $90,000 of levy dollars to pay for the cost of the truck. The remaining funds would be paid through the roads equipment reserve, which has a balance of $34,000. In terms of the operating side of things, it's, you know, given the fluctuation of costs, we can see how much it costed in 2020 and 2021 versus which was 60 some odd thousand. So I'm just scrolling up to my number, 68,000. Now in 2021 and 2022, the cost was 44,000, but that was, you know, as the report indicates, at a lower service level, a service level that we were not happy with. So it was also lower in terms of the number of events for the year. And so when we look at the additional 50,000 for the employee costs, if I take the average of the last, I think it was the last 10 years, it's about 52 events per year. And that means, looking at 2021 and 2022, if we had done that in-house, it would have been an extra cost of about $3,000 to $4,000. As Jake has mentioned, the employee would be doing more than just snow plowing, so I can't attribute the full cost to it, but it is the incremental cost related to this report, as that employee would be doing more than just snow plowing for the township.
Thank you. Paul, we're getting to depend on your financial analysis as a safeguard to our thinking. We thank you for that. Okay, any questions of Jake or Paul on this matter before I ask for a motion? Go ahead, Sheila.
Thank you. Through you to Jake. On your report on page 3 of 5, the top item is County Road 38, and you refer to County Road 38 Boulevard from Ford Street and Rock Road to the bridge. I presume you mean the bridge to the south of those roads? Am I correct in that?
That's correct, yeah.
Okay, what is happening with the boulevard from the mailboxes north? Is that what's being recommended not to be plowed?
No, currently the mailboxes, the sidewalk leading from the mailboxes on
To
County
what?
Road 4 to the school.
All the way to the school? I thought it was considered part boulevard.
No, that's an actual sidewalk.
Oh, all right, then
That's a concrete sidewalk.
I don't have a question anymore. Thank you.
Go ahead, Heather.
Thank you, Your Worship, through you, mostly technical as well. To Paul, starting with that, the OCIF allocation, does that need to be spent the year that it is provided, or can those funds go in reserve should council choose not to? Or are we looking for ways to spend the funds?
First part of, through Your Worship, answer your question, Councillor Watson. So we do not need to spend it in the year that we receive it. It can be put into a reserve. We just need to report on any interest earned. I don't think we're looking to spend it, but it is a little bit found money at this point. And without dipping into our current reserves as an option or a way to fund, if this is the way that council decides to go, then this is a way to fund it without dipping into our current reserves.
Sure, and just another question related to the finances. In Jake's report, I can't recall the page I read it on, referenced rising cost of fuel being a concern when trying to potentially hire a contractor to do this work. And I know that we have access to both fuel discounts and a new partnership or an ongoing partnership with the county on that. How much of a difference is there between current fuel rates and our bulk rates? And does that play a significant role in the recommendation?
If I could, I would like to defer to Jake. I'm not sure on the specifics on the numbers on in terms of how it works out for fuel. And if he doesn't know, I will definitely get you that information.
Sorry, I didn't mean to stump you on that.
It's okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to give you a definite answer, Councillor Watson, as it fluctuates daily, really. However, I can say that even deliveries recently, we're getting surcharges for fuel surcharges on deliveries. Our calcium now has a fuel surcharge to it. Everybody is applying this surcharge, which I think is in the meantime until they can reset their rates next year. And yeah, it's something that everybody's going to be dealing with.
Welcome to reality, Jake.
One final question, Your Worship, through you to Jake. Just to clarify on the Boulevard clearing, picking up on Councillor Lansman's point on County Road 38, you're recommending that not go forward, but you're kind of silent on County Road 29, but you mentioned verbally that there are ongoing conversations with Selwyn. Are you expecting that will come forward at a later date potentially?
Your worship, yes, that's correct. I just didn't have confirmation before the report, but it does sound promising that we can incorporate that, or they can incorporate that into their sidewalk maintenance, as they do provide it right up until where our township starts. So they're right there, and it should, I'm hoping that it should come through. So yes, that'll be a report coming later.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor. Maybe a couple of questions. Jake, how many employees do you have at the roads department right now? It's never been clear to me since we amalgamated, and I know that was a long time ago, but how many full-time staff do we have right now, including yourself and lead hand?
Currently, we have 8 full-time employees,
8,
including
okay.
myself and the lead hand.
All right, thank you. I guess, and I know things change, we need things, stuff like that, but I guess a couple of my concerns, we're adding a fair bit of, in the last little while here, we've been adding staff on, stuff like that, which, I know sooner or later, certain departments have to have stuff like that, but it is a concern, that how much staff we've added on in the last, let's say 6 months. And the thing that I find hard in my mind, and again, I know things change and stuff like that, but going back to even, and I'm going to go age myself here, but when I used to wing for the township stuff like that, like for the Dummer Township alone, there was 3 people on the roads department that did the plowing, the sanding, brushing roads, parking lots, arenas, like the whole thing got done with the township trucks and that. And I just kind of think to myself, like, whatever happened, but we can't seem to do that. And, the more vehicles and more trucks. And anyway, it's just in my mind. And I'm sure there's a good answer for it, but it's just something that, it pops into mind.
We used to have 2 people working in the office back in those days as well. Things change. Who's anybody going to try to answer that question? It's
Through you, Mr. Mayor. I mean, I'm happy to comment on it. I don't disagree with you, Councillor Watt. As we've looked at our operations and what's required and to try to be more efficient, we certainly have requested additional staff. I always go to Paul and say, okay, if we're going to spend this money, what are we looking at? So I think with this one in particular, when we did the numbers, and not specifically on the fuel because it is kind of a moving target, so we didn't do any analysis on that, but definitely with the rise in cost, it's an opportunity for contractors to increase their costs. So I think this change will not essentially cost the municipality in the end. We didn't elaborate too much on it with regard to the parks. We'll have something else coming, but we do currently contract some of our grass cutting, and that contractor has indicated that this will likely be his last year. So I'm looking to bring that in-house as well. And to do that, we would need another truck in parks as well to be able to take the mower and have multiple crews to be able to do that. So we are trying to be as efficient as possible. But like I said, I don't disagree with you. We have definitely made a request for some additional staff to do that.
Thank you very much. And one last question, if I may. Jake, the 2 trucks, the one, I guess, is the one that with the aluminum box on it that goes out and does patching on roads and stuff like that. But did it not do dual purpose before? It did that in the summertime, but in the wintertime, it did some sanding. I mean, maybe even if it was just by hand, and also had a plow on the front of it, or like the 2 trucks thing kind of throws me off too.
Yeah, so currently the 2007 truck that we're replacing has a plow, and we purchased a sander off of our previous contractor. That was used to complete, or that is used to complete the municipal lot and the transfer station and the other areas that we have brought in-house. So yes, it's just a replacement. That truck is due for replacement. It's done, it's at its life expectancy. So that's a separate item. But to do everything in-house, we need 2 vehicles, 2 pieces of equipment. number one for breakdowns. If there's a breakdown, we have a backup. And as well as speaking with the previous contractor, or 2 years ago, that Jake Baker, he recommended that you have 2 vehicles. It's going to take the better part of a day for 2 guys to do this maintenance. So we need 2 vehicles to complete it in the time frame that's required.
Carl, go ahead. Final comment, and we'll move
I
on.
would move the recommendation, and I've got a couple comments.
Okay, seconder to Carl's motion to approve the recommendation. Heather, go ahead, Carl.
Yes, a couple things. The bulk price, quite often in bulk prices, the supplier can get prices on the futures market. That wouldn't be for 100% of the fuel, but a good portion of the fuel. So that can always be to our advantage for bulk purchasing. The second thing I want to mention is the bringing it inside in the house. And I appreciate the detail of the report here to show us that basically we're probably going to get a better job and a more efficient job by bringing it in-house. Bearing in mind that contractors got to make probably 25 to 30% because they pay taxes, we don't. And if they're not profitable, they'll eventually go out of business. So I'm quite happy with the moving forward in this direction. Thank you.
Okay, and things change as years go by. A motion is on the floor. All in favor? That motion is approved. Okay, 9.5, Site Plan Control Bylaw. Martina.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This report is coming out of our last council meeting where we spoke about the changes that Bill 109 we're going to be bringing to our township. In the resolution that council had passed, one of the directions to staff was to bring forward an updated site plan control bylaw, which delegated all site plan approvals to staff for the next meeting. So we have prepared a bylaw. There are changes in the bylaw on pages 1 and 2 predominantly. On page 1, we're changing the first paragraph to cite the correct location in our official plan. We now cite section 7.17.1. And then on page 2, we're changing item number 3, which speaks to the approval process being delegated to the chief building official and the planner. Agreements shall be signed by the clerk and the mayor as per changes enacted by Bill 103. So those are the 2 substantial changes in the bylaw. Further in the report, I do highlight that our current bylaw is quite aged. So once our planner comes on staff, not that I want to give them more work than they're already going to have, but this is one of the documents that we will have to do a fulsome review together on. So I imagine you will see a report come back either in late fall 2022 or midwinter 2023 with a more fulsome document and a full update of our guidebook and application process.
So what would you like right now, Martina? Simply receive the report?
Sorry. Yes, just to receive this report and then pass the draft bylaw at the appropriate time during the meeting.
Later on. Okay. Motion, please, to receive. Heather? And Tom, all in favor? That motion is approved. Item 9.6, County Official Plan Project Update. Martina.
Thank you. So we are now very close to the end of this project. And the county has requested, or I should say on June 1st, County Council received a report from staff presenting a draft version of the bylaw with all of the marked up schedules and maps and all of the other documentation. In response to that, County Council did pass 2 resolutions, and I'll just read those out to you. That section 9.4.2 of the draft official plan be amended by deleting the last paragraph that read reductions of the 30-meter setback will not be permitted for aesthetic purposes or viewing corridors, and that the report be received for information and that staff be directed to make the revised draft official plan available for public inspection. And anyone requesting notice be advised when and where the revised draft official plan is available, and that all townships be requested to provide the county with a resolution in support of the official plan. So I know you've received a lot of documents here today, and you have in the past as well. But what I've provided you today is the total revised document dated June 1st. Marked up versions of the documents. So you can see the clean version and the track changes. Copies of all of the townships maps and schedules showing all of the changes that we had requested where possible. And then of course, a summary of all of the comments that we received from the public with the response from either county staff or township staff to each of the comments. So you can see how they were addressed. I'm happy to answer any questions. I know it's a lot of information, but the county is asking for us to pass a resolution in support so they can take this to the province no later than July 1st, which is our deadline that we cannot move.
A lot of work. A lot of work has gone into this. And Martina, I know you've been our eyes and our ears, and I think we've done a heck of a good job. Any questions? The recommendation you heard from Martina. Any questions? Someone would care to move the recommendation then? Sheila will?
I'll move the recommendation. It was a lot of work, a lot to read.
Seconder to that, please. Heather? All in favor? Okay, that is approved. Martina, you can proceed to communicate with the county, and we can live up to what we are expected to do. So thank you.
Thank you.
9.7, Municipal Election Restricted Acts. Quack, lame duck. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this is just an information item for council regarding lame duck, which is actually called restricted acts provisions for the upcoming municipal election. The report just goes over some different scenarios, how the legislation works, when it would take effect, and just letting council know that staff will be reviewing the various time periods and making you aware if and when we do enter lame duck. We assume, staff are assuming that we are going to be lame duck, but until we reach that August 19th first deadline, we won't know until that afternoon. So this is just for information.
Thank you very much. Motion to receive it then, please. Sheila? Seconder?
Yes, I'd like to ask a question if I may.
If we can get a seconder then, please. Carl, go ahead, Sheila.
Thank you. Through you to Martina. During the 2 periods of lame duck restrictions, item 1, is that provincial wording how it's worded? That we have 3/4 of our members, which doesn't work really well. Somebody gets left out or chopped up.
So through you, Mr. Mayor, that is correct. This wording that's highlighted in gray on the report is directly from the province. It is odd, the wording 3/4, and that's why I've included that little mathematical equation later on in the report to determine how I view our council, because we are a 5-member council as opposed to 7 or another number that some other larger municipalities might have. So.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Motion's on the floor to receive that report. All in favor? Motion is approved. Committee reports, update on county council matters. Anything to report at all, Carl? Go ahead.
No, just a couple things. Martina already talked about the official plan. That'll be on the agenda next Wednesday. There's various road projects. I'm sure you've seen some of the construction out and about going on throughout the county. If you're out and about driving, there's a lot of things happening. So.
Okay, and I'm sure we all congratulate the Douro-Dummer people who are receiving county awards this Thursday night, and we will be sure to share your congratulations with them. It's by invitation because of COVID, so it's just those getting an award and their family members, but we'll pass on our congratulations to them. Motion to receive that report, please. Heather? And Carl, all in favor? Motion approved. Library Board minutes, April 12th. Motion to receive and approve those minutes, please. Tom? Sheila? Questions? All in favor? That motion is approved. Historical Committee minutes of May 16th are there as well. A motion to receive and approve those, please. Sheila? Seconder? Heather?
Question?
Question? Carl?
I read in that minutes that it's 10 to 15,000 to place a retaining wall. Will finish that job. Is that correct, Sheila, as a member of that board?
Through you to the deputy mayor. That is an estimate on Whitey's behalf. It is not necessarily even work that is going to be undertaken.
Okay,
So that was just a comment that he made, what he expected it to be. The important thing now, which he is working on getting pricing for, is to close in the top with some viewing area, but that will not be anywhere near that.
so the grate should be it, or could be it.
Could be it for the time being, yeah.
Yeah. That's
Thank you.
great. Mhm. Okay, motion to receive then, please, and approve those minutes. Did we do that, Martina?
I do have a mover and seconder, but I don't,
Okay,
we
just
haven't
need to
done a vote.
Sorry, all in favor? That motion is approved then. Action item letters. We have a letter from Shadow Ministers about the broadband strategy. I don't think there's a lot we can do about it. We're all supporting the broadband strategy. Sheila?
I'll make a
Receive?
motion to receive it.
Okay. Seconder? Heather? All in favor? Thank you. Motion approved. And also a letter about short-term rentals, a subject that we are living with now, and we appreciate the correspondence. Motion to receive. Carl? Tom? All in favor? Motion is approved. Okay, bylaws. Martina?
I think our only bylaw that we have this evening is bylaw 2022-32, which is our bylaw regarding the site plan control that we talked about earlier in the meeting.
Okay, motion for the bylaw, please. Tom and Sheila? All in favor? That motion is approved. We have no accounts to look at tonight. No closed session. Confirming bylaw, please. Sheila? Seconder? Tom, all in favor? Approved. And next meeting, of course. Let's see, Planning Committee, June 24. HR Committee, June 28. Regular Council meeting, August 2nd. So there we go. We are now officially on summer break for the month of July. I hope everyone has a very comfortable, safe holiday, and we'll see you back here in August for our regular council meeting. Motion to adjourn, please. Heather? Sheila? All in favor? That motion's approved. Thank you, everyone who watched live or on YouTube. We thank you very much. We hope everyone has a very safe, healthy, enjoyable summer. And we'll see you back here on Zoom with Douro-Dummer Council on the 4th of August, I believe is the date. So thank you. Please stay safe, everyone.